Royce. Daniel Malen, wonderful.
Fantastic from Royce. Jude Bellingham, that's excellent. Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant. Jude Bellingham, absolutely magnificent. Reina, brilliant from the American, just like that. Best of clearances. Oh, what a volley. Matt Hummels.
Grant in for Haaland, like he's never been away. The man in front of goal who is simply deadly.
Hey, welcome to the BVB podcast. My name's Jake. I am joined as always by Carver, and we got a special guest today. Hopefully you're a little familiar with him. You should be a lot more familiar with him, more so than us, but he has been a guest on the podcast a couple times. He jumps in with his awesome Dortmund Women's updates, so we're super excited to have him joining us for the full episode this time. Adam, how are you doing, man? How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm all pumped now that I heard that great intro. I love it. It just sets the mood. I'm ready to go now.
I'm glad you're pumped now, but very soon we're going to have to edit that and take out some of those players and exchange those for some other highlights from the season, and we won't be able to hear that awesome, like he's never been away.
Yeah.
Much longer, because which we're going to get into this episode. A lot happening. Obviously, we're going to recap the 3-1. We won 3-1, right? It feels like so long since we played.
Yeah, I know.
It's been 3-1 game over the weekend versus Fürth, and we will do our predictions against for the last game of the season against Hertha Berlin. And then the big news: we got confirmation that Haaland is officially out the door. Whether you're excited or sad, we'll get into it, all of it. And then, of course, today, shout out to Dortmund for making announcements the day we record podcasts. It makes us look really good. Instead of us sitting back and be like, well, hopefully we get an announcement, or like by the time this comes out, we might have some other news. But we have the official news that Adeyemi is officially a Dortmund player. So, yeah. Carver, how are you feeling?
There's just so much to unpack. It's been a very eventful these last few days, and it's been a bittersweet last few hours as a Dortmund fan. You know, you get to see, it's sad to see Haaland go, and, the announcement for him today, and then within, maybe an hour and a half after that, you see the announcement for Adeyemi coming in. So, yeah, a lot of mixed emotions, excited to get into it. Any initial thoughts from you, Adam?
I guess my initial reaction is that we had so long to plan for this. It almost just felt inevitable. Like when was it going to finally be announced? So I found myself shocked by how little feeling I had about it, which I don't know, was a little bit of a bummer considering how impressive his stint here was.
Yeah, it is sad to see him go. He's such an incredible player, and not only that, he's an enormous figure and just an enigma as well. I mean, the Haaland brand is just nothing short of just, world class. He's just taken the world by storm. But it also is a bit of a relief to kind of end this circus of media speculation early. I was dreading another Sancho saga with just spending we already since the beginning, everyone was trying to rumor Haaland around for the last 2.5 years. But really, whenever Sancho had that last or so season with us, it was just day in and day out of new rumors. So thankfully, we kind of got that out of the way, and we could stop spreading all this nonsense around Twitter and other social medias every day. And also, it's exciting to see us look into a new direction. I think we looked really one-dimensional with our attacks these past season or so with Haaland going forward, and now we can hopefully shed some new light on some new philosophies in our game. So,
I know. So we'll go through Twitter questions and specifics a little bit later, but of course, one question we had was, who's coming in for Haaland, and any ideas or speculations, because we had the conversation with Josh a couple weeks ago about Adiemi. He's not the replacement. I think that's something some people were worried about, that if we're signing Adiemi, you're like, do we really need him? We need a replacement for Haaland, but it looks like he's honestly not that replacement. He's going to be more of a winger, like an attacking winger role, which is what he does. So, which we kind of need to strengthen in that area, which we might get into a little bit later. But as far as looking ahead and looking at potential incomings for a striker, Adam, I'm curious if you had any thoughts on the potential names we've seen it.
Yeah, I'm curious, how many, he's not a Sancho replacement, and he's not a Haaland replacement players we're going to collect. I mean, I guess Malen was supposedly not directly a replacement for either one, and now Adiemi maybe not. I don't know, maybe he is more the Sancho role that we envisioned. But in terms of striker replacements, there's a lot of unproven names out there that I would be honest to say that I don't know a ton about. Was Adam Hlosek isn't he from Sparta Prague or something like that? Like, I couldn't tell you anything about him really. Mm-hmm. One name that I've been excited about for years that has actually been rumored the last couple of days is Sebastian Heller. Mm-hmm. I love him. I loved him since the days in Eintracht. One thing that really excites me about him is because he's actually excelled in the Bundesliga, left the Bundesliga, realized that maybe the grass is a little bit greener in the Bundesliga, and maybe that means he's a long-term option for us and not another player looking for a stepping stone.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it sucks to see that, he didn't really flourish that well at West Ham, but I think that definitely could be an answer for, taking maybe that next step in his career, especially with Ten Hag leaving. Maybe he could be looking at another destination to kind of give him that next step. So, yeah, going back, it is interesting to see, neither Adeyemi or Malen have been direct placements for either of those two players in Haaland or Sancho. And it's just interesting how we're going to go forward now with, the players we're going to sign. I've been saying even before Adeyemi the last few weeks, I think our number one priority should be a number 6, which we should get in, where we will get into. But yeah, I haven't seen much of Salzburg play much at all this season, to be honest. I've only read and seen bits and pieces of Adeyemi online, but start with a few positives. Adeyemi, 22 goals this season, lightning pace, terrific technical ability, and great in tight spaces, and also is obviously ice cold in front of goal at times, or at least on his day. And he's also similar to Malen in the sense that neither of them are afraid to shoot. I know you and I, Jake, usually are giving props to Malen for having a go, having a go for shooting on goal, unlike a lot of our attackers. Usually they're kind of trying to walk it into the net, which I think is going to help a lot with more of our direct playing style, which I think benefits us a lot more. And, it gets tests the keeper, creates some chaos in the opposition's 6-yard box, and hopefully can score more goals.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for Adiemi. I mentioned it before last week, maybe we were talking. But as far as in that role, if he's not the striker, if we get another striker, then it's really exciting. If he was the central striker, maybe not so much. That's where I was kind of leaning, like, do we need him? Do we need to sign him? But I think on that little wider position, like, I am excited for him. I have watched a lot of Salzburg because for Brendan Aronson, I'm a big Brendan Aronson fanboy.
That's fair.
So
he is a baller.
So anytime people were like on Twitter, like I'm always up in the Twitter. I usually don't partake in the Twitter beef, but I just read it all and it gets to me. Mm-hmm. But anytime people are like, oh, you don't even watch Adiemi, blah, 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 I'm like, actually, I have watched a lot of him. I am excited for him. So it's going to be exciting and cool. Back to the Haaland thing.
Yeah.
I'm because I think we started with Haaland and then we just kind of, we all did it though. I'm not blaming. It's probably my fault
host,
too.
Jake.
I think my first question to Adam was even like, oh, what do you think of Haaland and Adiemi at the same time? Because it has been this weird season where I know a lot of the sentiment from a lot of fans are like, good riddance. And you talked about the media circus and everything. I just hope I don't want this. I feel like a lot of that comes from this season, him being injured so much and people almost taking it as him not caring. And I just don't see that at all. And I feel like he's tried to play through injuries. It's really unfortunate that this is how his season ends. And we missed out on just Reina too. We missed out on that partnership, the Reina and Haaland partnership. And so I just really hope people give him still fans of him moving forward. Because he's been an amazing striker. His goal to game ratio is
85 goals in 88 games.
And anyone who's like, well, good riddance. Like, can we replace those goals? Like, I know he played like pretty much half the season this year and still gave us 23 goals, 22 goals, something like that. Like, that's no one else is close. Like, how are we going to replace those goals? That's what I'm concerned about. And I just hope people give him like the respect I think he truly deserves and don't just write this season off and say good riddance. I'm glad he's out of here. Of course, like, we have to move on. And we can't just be sad that he's leaving. Like, we have to progress and we have to figure out how to play without him. But I'm just saying, dude deserves a ton of respect, and I love him, and I'm going to miss him so much.
Adam?
Yeah, it's tough. Hearing you talk about the people thinking less of him because of the injuries. If anything, he's recklessly playing through injury right now to make sure he can finish the season. Because he's definitely battling some things, but he's in the lineup every time, and he probably should be resting right now, particularly ahead of a big transfer, but he's not. So credit to him for that. I don't know. Maybe it's reckless. Maybe I shouldn't be giving credit, but he's definitely putting, the team's interest there. He wants to finish well. I think there's going to be this big transfer anyway, but he wants to finish well. And I think that bodes well for the Hertha match, which I know we'll get to. I think he's going to want to make a big final appearance. And I think the reason why I felt not so much sad, just because I've been preparing for this, and I'm definitely not happy he's gone, but I think it was Sancho when we had that secret extension that he signed that warded off Manchester United for another year. I made the mistake of falling in love. I felt like
you and me both, Adam.
He's ours. After that, he's pounding the chest. We're like, nope, he's not going to you. He's ours. He is staying. And I shouldn't have fallen for this. And I got burned. I love Sancho. I would take him back in a heartbeat. But I think that the loss of Sancho burned me a little bit with getting attached to Haaland in the first place. And then, I have known that he's essentially been gone for, the entire year. We've known this is his last year. So I guess that's why I didn't really feel anything. And it was too bad.
Yeah, well said. I thought the exact same thing, especially I think it was maybe a few months after that, that secret speculation of the extension from Sancho. I saw him kiss the badge, I think on 2 separate occasions in a matter of a month or so. And I was thinking the exact same thing. I was falling for him, but
I remember texting Carver, I think it was in the summer. Mm-hmm. It was between seasons. And this was before we were doing the podcast or anything. This was just when, this is kind of what prompted the podcast. Cause I'm like, well, Carver's my only friend that I can text to Dortmund about. And then we're like, I'm sure there's other people who just watch Dortmund by themselves. Well, Carver was involved in the fan group and everything, the St. Louis group. And I was just sitting at home watching by myself. So, but I was texting Carver, I think when the transfer went down, I'm like, dude, I think he's gone. And he's like, no way, man, he's staying forever. And then the next morning, I'm like, yeah, man, it's official. He's out.
I know. It's, but at least, I also read that Haaland wanted this deal done early this week so we could have a proper farewell on Saturday as well at home in front of the, yellow wall. And I'm predicting him scoring a brace and really exploding in that game.
Another Haaland hat trick.
Yeah. Hey,
one last Haaland hat trick.
Wouldn't roll that out either. Would not roll that out either.
Yeah, we'll have a few players making their last appearance, I'm sure. I think Axel Witsel has looked great lately. Yeah. Which makes me a little sad about him leaving, except that maybe we'll get to see him in the US. So, hopefully he'll be in the lineup and get a good send off too. We'll have to talk about whether Roman Bürki is going to get a look. I don't know. Did that come in as a question or am I asking it to you guys?
No, it definitely came in as a question. And that's something that we were both predicting and hoping to happen, which I can't imagine a world where that wouldn't happen. Hopefully the team would be not, so disrespectful to a man like him who's spent so long here and had so many great moments as our keeper. So, I hope to God that the team gives him the proper send off like we would with plenty of other people, not just, on the team, but Mikhail Zorc as well as, that's his last season with us as well. So I would imagine a send off for him too. Hopefully I was predicting a tifo for Zorc on the Südtribüne.
They did. The official Dortmund socials were posting something about him, a send-off for him. So, that's going to be in there. They didn't, there was nothing about Haaland, but I don't think Dortmund's even officially said anything about Haaland. So maybe that's something we'll see a little bit later.
Yeah.
I know something came out from Man City, but it seemed like not everything was quite finalized yet. It's happening, but it's not official. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this Saturday. I know us being in St. Louis, obviously we're hoping to see Bürki one more time, and not just us as Dortmund fans, but everyone in St. Louis is like, I hope I can watch him in
action.
Yeah. Before he comes our way in the summer, which is going to be. The day they announced it, a little flashback to the day they announced it. My phone was nuts. I do a St. Louis soccer podcast here too, so I'm back and forth on all the Twitter accounts. Everyone's tweeting me on both sides, and Carv and I don't know, we were able to do the episode right after the announcement, which was super cool. And
that was a fun episode. Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. That was awesome. And Yeah, that was just such a nuts day. I was on my phone for like 4 hours straight, like just trying to catch up with everything.
Thing is, I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah, you don't think this Saturday? Or
he didn't make the trip to Fürth. Like, he actually had to come out and say in the media that he hopes he'll play. I don't think it's going to happen. There's something going on here. Like, he's so like out of like the team that I don't know if it's going to happen.
I think even our U23 goalkeeper got in the squad before Berkey as well. And I've thought that the exact same thing for the last few years. I mean, I don't think anyone has official like sources that, lists what happened to him behind the scenes, because I think it might have been a few different factors for Berkey, but it is wild to see how he's went from our number 1 to number 4 or even 5. It's pretty concerning almost, but
did he go to Bayern?
He recently was on the bench the first game that Kobel was injured, I think. But there's been other matches that Unbenhauen was ahead of him.
Yeah,
Drojaka was ahead of him in another game. And yeah, obviously hits. So yeah, I'm not convinced he's going to get a run out.
Yeah. The fact that when he came out and said something, that gave me a little more hope. But now I'm looking at your perspective. I'm like, oh man, the fact that he had to say that. Now I'm a little more concerned. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, he knows something's up. He knows they're going to give him a little send off. But now I'm concerned. Dang it.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, the last thing I do want to say before we move on from Haaland is, do you guys have any predictions on, do you think his career is going to hit the ground running when he goes to Man City next season, or do you think it might be a slow start and it might be frustrating for him because he has to adapt so much to a style like Pep's? I mean, it's nothing like Rose's style, which we don't even know what Rose's style is, but I mean, Pep's is a lot less, one-dimensional with their attacks with Haaland. So what do you guys think about his career starting out at City?
That's a good question, because obviously Sancho has had his issues with getting into the new system at United. And I think that Haaland is probably a little bit more system agnostic. I feel like you drop him into any system and he's going to score goals. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'm definitely not a tactician, but Sancho requires a little bit more of a system around him, perhaps. And he had the perfect situation at Dortmund, which was such a disappointment to see him leave that. But I feel like Haaland, like every team, like needs to score goals, and he's going to be the guy on top, and he's going to have just unbelievable talent around him. And I think the goals are going to come for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing I think it's more on Pep. Like you said, I think Haaland can drop in anywhere and he's going to be able to produce goals, but it's going to be more on Pep, which obviously Pep is a great manager and a good tactician. Well, sometimes he makes weird calls and then he loses Champions League finals. So we'll see. But it's going to be interesting to see.
Or quarterfinals.
See how they adjust to having that striker, because they've done it so well. I mean, they had Ferran Torres this season, last season,
just for a little bit. I think it was maybe a half a season or so,
and that seemed to not go that well. But I mean, that could be the player too. So I mean, all those players are so great; they should be able to work with anyone. So it's just, I think it's a matter of like kind of restructuring and getting that game plan to feed it to him, or making sure he's in the right space and area. One thing that was interesting, I feel like I've noticed the last few games, is him, like Haaland, actually dropping a little bit.
Yeah.
Dropping deep and creating chances and getting some assists too, which is, another good dynamic for him to be able to show that, hey, I can also pass the ball and create stuff for other people too by dropping into different space and different areas. So if he can do that, not that he did it bad or anything, but if he can do that better and really learn that role where I can be the striker, but also kind of the Harry Kane situation where he drops back and can be a playmaker too. I don't know if he's going to get to that, but maybe under Pep and that kind of system, that's something he can do too. But I think it's more on Pep than Haaland. I don't want to see just City continue to be so dominant, but I want to see Haaland continue to do well. So I don't know where that leaves me.
To pile on to what both of you said, I mean, I think it is very true that you probably could drop him into most systems and he's going to score goals. I mean, players like Sancho love the guy to death, but I think he did at times, he was maybe not suited well for the Premier League physicality, right out of the gates. And that is something that Haaland definitely flourishes in. I mean, he wants that physical opponents on the field, and he wants people to kind of back into him so he can outbody them. So I don't think he's going to have any problem with that in the Premier League with, being physical, as well as, people tend to overlook that, don't really pay attention to the Bundesliga, tend to overlook how well of a playmaker he can be. I'm not by any, means comparing him to Kane. I think Kane is the best, striker that can pass, or best passer striker that I've seen in my lifetime. But Haaland, has the ability just to kind of give more the short passing with his playmaking. So, I mean, I think he provided 6 assists or 7 assists this season, and then a handful last season as well. So it's not like he can't dish the ball to other people and be selfless and open up those plays, because, so many people are attracted to him on the field, and that immediately opens up space for other people. So I think he definitely could adapt to that system well, even though you could adapt or throw him into any system and he would probably do well.
Yeah, he's in the top 10 in the league in both goals and assists, and that's considering all the time that he lost too. 8 assists this year, 6 last year, and that's not including things like rebounded shots or penalties that were won or anything. Transfer market will sometimes include things like that. So I mean, he's playmaking, he's scoring. I think he's going to really thrive. I don't think I'm going out on a limb there either. No.
Yeah,
I have to own up. I don't know. Some days I just say really stupid stuff. I mean, it happens probably every episode of this podcast, but I said something about I'd rather see him go to City than, I think, Real Madrid.
Oh, yeah?
And ever since I said that, I completely regret it. My mindset was, I mean, Man City's already going to dominate, like, no matter what. So just if he goes there, it's not going to change much. They're just going to continue to dominate. And I take back everything I said. I don't know why I don't.
Dominate in the Premier League at least, but I still think there's other competitions where City still lacks a lot of different things in different areas. But I'm hoping Adeyemi will have that kind of same momentum going into our team as well. I listed a bunch of the positives about his game, but I've also, and you could maybe attest to this as well, I've read a little bit what people or Salzburg supporters have said about him online these past few months, and 38 million is a pretty darn hefty fee for a player that's really not proven themselves at a top level yet. I think if 38 million isn't our record transfer, it's like top 2 or top 3, if I'm not wrong, for Dortmund. As well as, I mean, he can easily be bullied off the ball, so we're losing that physical presence up top, and a player that instills fear in defenders like Haaland. And, Malen can be, I love Malen's tenacity and persistence when it's an attack, but I think Adiemi can really be bullied off the ball, which, is going to take the wind out of our sails in certain kind of attacks.
Yeah, I think the amount did seem a little high, and it seemed like with all the rumors that we've had over the last months, it seemed like that was what Dortmund was trying to bring down the transfer, the price, because it does seem high, especially for how young he is. And granted, he has. I mean, they had a good run in Champions League this year, and he did show some really good stuff. His thing is he's fast. He's so fast that he can work around people. We even saw him. If you guys watched it, I watched it. When Salzburg played Bayern in the Champions League in the first game, second game we won't talk about that one. But first game, like he played really well. Aronson played well. Like that whole, it was a really good team performance. But he had some really good moments. And his thing is he's fast. So if he can, I don't know if he's going to get much taller, but if he can bulk up a little bit and really be able to like be a little more physically demanding and present, then hopefully that's the case. But yeah, his thing is he's fast, and 38 was probably a little high because he's so young. But
you could still be pretty strong, and you have like a low center of gravity with that size. I mean, Aguero comes to mind for me in those senses. That I can't imagine. I don't remember too many times where Aguero was like really bullied off the ball, and that I saw at least. So,
Adam, you have any other thoughts on Adiemi? I know we talked about him a lot earlier, but.
Yeah, I've watched, the highlight clips essentially. I didn't watch Salzburg against Bayern because the only thing worse than watching Bayern is watching two Bayerns. But yeah, he's got great footwork, great speed, obviously. And I think that, maybe he'll be the one to challenge Bellingham for the most fouled player on the team, because there was certainly a lot of that in the highlights. And I mean, there were some clips where I was like, this is in the highlight clip. There's no way he gets to that ball first, but he did. So, that's something that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah. I'm excited as well. We got 3 incredible signings all under 60 million, and the transfer window hasn't even really opened yet. So, I mean, and all three are German internationals as well. Again, big overhaul in our defense, as well as bringing in a massive addition for our attack. And it's only May, so now it's just a matter of how we move forward and give Kale the time he needs this summer to really try to fix maybe one or two other holes in this team.
Yeah, what do you think comes next? I mean, there's been rumors about strikers like Heller, and there's been rumors about Benson Baini as a fullback. Curious what you think comes next, and if there's the budget for both. I mean, we haven't even sold anybody yet, so I guess there could be more money coming in from like a Kanji or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It definitely is going to be a big tell this next month or two to see who goes out the door, like you said. And I used to be on the side all of last year of we need a fullback or a right back desperately. I was, one of the biggest critics of Meunier, but I think he's really proved himself this past season, even though he's been injured the past month or two. And I think we have other bigger priorities like a number 6. I mean, you could have two of the best center backs of the league, arguably, and they can still look like poo if they don't have a proper defensive midfielder in front of them to, help slow down attacks, help break, cut passing lanes, things like that.
Yeah, in retrospect, how much did that Thomas Delaney departure hurt?
Adam, I say that every episode.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to move into the game over the weekend?
I feel like I had some while you guys were talking, sorry. I was like, well, my other computer with Twitter is like way like 3 feet this direction, so I was like all the way over here when you guys were talking, and then I forgot. Oh, I was slightly my one concern. We've done so much business already. I'm like, what if we get to the summer and nothing happens? Like,
well, I mean, that's the thing though. Is I think it's great to get all this business out of the way, so you don't have to worry about like the circus of the media and all these different other teams wanting more money if it's this time or this part of the transfer window or that part of the transfer window. It's all about business. I think we got it out of the way, and now we can be calm and collected going into the last few things we need.
Okay, one more question about, because it's been mentioned so much. I mean, you just mentioned it, but as far as like a 6, someone in that position, what are your thoughts on Chan? I'm slightly concerned that, I mean, Chan, I want to give Chan a lot of credit because he's had to play so many different roles, and I feel like he's done a decent job that I feel like Rosa trusts him. He feels like he can trust him because he puts him everywhere, even when you have some other options. Still throw him at right back. I mean, we haven't had a lot of options at right back, but he's been able to count on him, I feel like, and that has me slightly concerned that maybe they might not go for anyone and just count on him, on other people being healthy so that he can play.
Adam, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, the thing about counting on Chan to play just the number 6 role is then you lose his versatility to plug him in anywhere, which would then maybe open up additional holes. So maybe keeping Chan as an option to plug in a lot of different places, which I guess it sounds like he doesn't love that role, but is willing to do it. I think that his versatility certainly helps cover up some of the flaws that he might have, because he does save our ass many times. That there are times that he makes a play that, a rash challenge that puts us in a difficult situation. But there's also so many times that he fills in where otherwise we'd be, totally screwed.
Totally. I totally agree. I think he'd be a great addition to or not addition, but a massive asset next season of, plugging him into a bunch of different areas around our defense inevitably when one gets injured. And I just hope that if he knows that role going forward, he's still okay with it. I know he said he's just happy to kind of help wherever, but I don't know if, he's willing to continue with that role of being a rotation / not being in his favorite position for, the next year or two to come. So yeah, hopefully he can just...
Yeah, he doesn't get hurt too, so you only have to plan for when he gets the 5th yellow card, the red card, and maybe the 10th yellow card. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, we can move on to the recap of the Fürth game, and we might not linger on this game too much. Usually we can just rant and rave. Oh my gosh!
I was wondering when that was going to happen. You were kind of like hanging from it.
It was like, all right, I'm probably going to leave this in the episode because it's kind of hilarious now. Because what you didn't hear in the recordings is me trying to get ready for this episode was a mess. I was not ready, asking Carver and Adam if they're ready the whole time. And now what you just heard was my microphone fell off the mic stand. So, Carver, I'm going to let you lead into this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So lineup thoughts, not really any complaints that I could think of. Back three, it looked like in possession, Emery Chan back after the week off against Bochum. He had a decent outing. Really our best available at the moment, given our injury list. Again, a handful of other players on the bench that normally wouldn't really ever play. And again, I guess I can't really complain too much because we didn't have any other available personnel. Adam?
Yeah, it's like that's one of the things about Rose this season. Like, you can't even really judge him on lineup selection because the injuries have selected the lineups for him every single week. So I don't think that there were really any surprises here. I kind of like the back three. I don't know. I don't have a reason not to like it yet. I feel like there's just a little bit more stability when you push Wolf and Guerrero out a little bit wider. And we have, a player like Chan who is going to clean up some messes behind him. So I'll be interested to see, like, with the new players that we're bringing in, if a back three is the plan. I know it's not typically a Rosa thing, but I don't know, some signs seem to be pointing that way. But other than that, I think the lineup essentially picked itself.
Yeah, which you mentioned Guerrero, and I think he finally had a decent game, which we've been calling for that for him for I don't know how long. This second half of the season, he's been pretty concerning, and all the rumors around him, speculation of him leaving and stuff potentially. But thankfully, I think he came out and performed pretty well, which thankfully was in his more natural position. He actually had a shot on goal, which that's another thing I wonder about his game is I think Guerrero can be very deadly in a lot of different areas whenever he shoots. I mean, he's got a really good left foot. He's had I don't know how many different types of goals as a Dortmund player. Whether it's the half volleys or these different chips and low driven shots. Again, creates chaos in the opposition 6-yard box, and it gives potentially an easy tap in for another player like Brent in this situation. So
my mic's back. I'm good.
We don't want you to talk anyway. You could just keep it off.
That was just a ploy to get me to not say stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why Adam's here. Do you think Guerrero has been told to drop off or not attack so much? Because that's one thing I feel like I've noticed over the last few games, at least, that he hasn't been going forward as much. Do you think that's a Rosa decision or him being more cautious? Or, is that something you guys have noticed?
Yeah, maybe a mix of both, probably, I would argue. Adam?
I guess I haven't noticed him being back more. I don't know if I've noticed him being forward less. It's tough. I don't know his best role. I'm pretty sure it's not, a left back and a back four, although he's done that an awful lot for us. When we're, in possession 70% of the time, he's a totally fine option there. But I do wonder what his future in this team is, because there have been some rumors about him possibly being a player that is sold because his value is probably higher now than it ever will be. And maybe he fits in better elsewhere if we're not going to utilize him in a role that fits his skills more, better. I don't know. I don't know if there is a great future for him. I think that probably is related to the question about what system do they play next year. Like, if he's just going to keep doing the same thing, I feel like we're kind of wasting Rafael Guerrero a little bit. He's like a number 10 who's over in the left back spot there, and it's probably not the best. We have defensive issues. I don't think they're all him, but I think that having players who, the defense is not their top skill in a back four doesn't really work that well.
Yeah, I agree. And I also, again, I mentioned before that this season he doesn't have someone like Sancho to play off of. I think that's someone, there's an aspect to his game that really elevated him a lot, is having a, kind of a flair and another winger that has a really good technical ability and those, abilities to kind of those little flicks and quick short range 1-2 passes. And Guerrero didn't really have that too much with other players this season. So I think there's not only his defensive game, suffered a lot because he was asked to put more into a deeper role with, a manager that isn't that great defensively, but also doesn't have much going forward to kind of give him that support. So, Jake, do you have any other thoughts or no?
Well, I was going to give a shout out to Andrew Swan on Twitter, who did ask after yet another lackadaisical performance for Guerrero, which I think this one was better than what we've seen before. But would it be worth to keep Rafa or move him to another position, or just move him on? Like you said, value-wise, maybe it's the time if we can. But we need someone else in that position.
That's exactly right. It's tough because I totally get what people are saying too about his stock. I mean, it is at an all-time high, but if we're not going in for another proper left back at the moment, I don't really see a better option. You certainly don't want to risk just selling him and not putting that money elsewhere and then just having Schultz as your left back.
I like you mentioned before, the back three. That's something we've been back three fans. We've been championing that on this podcast, and I think, and so it is going to come down to is Rosa going to actually do that? Is that his plan moving forward? We've seen it here and there. We've seen it like a hybrid during matches. Maybe he's going to lean that way, and maybe that's where Rafa stays and plays that back three, and he's a wing back, and that's I've mentioned it a couple times on the podcast that Schlotterbeck and Sule both are familiar with playing in a back three, so maybe that is where we're moving to. But yeah, right now we don't know. We don't know what Rose is doing half the time anyway, so it's just going to be interesting moving forward.
Yeah, I think we're going to utilize Guerrero a little bit better as a wing back. I think that helps, certainly. I don't know if making him a number 8 is the answer if we already have Bellingham in that role and other players that can play there as well. But if we let Akanji leave, we don't extend Zagadou, that means we are not done with our center back business if we're planning to do a back three, because that means we'll have Schlotterbeck, Sula, and Hummels, and I guess Koulibaly. Or Nnamdi Collins. Maybe we start turning it over to some young players. But Sula has injury issues. Hummels has injury issues. Schlotterbeck doesn't at this point. I'm hoping that he doesn't catch that when he arrives in Dortmund. But yeah, maybe we need to be looking for more center backs then. Yeah,
absolutely. So going back to back three in this game, I think in the first half we had 70% of possession, if I'm not wrong, and said it before, I don't know how many times these last few games, but again, just lack that final pass to create, those real chances in front of goal and have that killer instinct to put games to bed. And just said, I know we had the Brandt goal early on, but I didn't think we looked too convincing in front of goal. Again, just lack that final pass. And Fürth had a handful of dangerous counterattacks as well. So it's, they came to compete. Seems like, no matter who we play, if people are playing Dortmund, they have the mentality of going out and actually trying to get a result against us. It's crazy.
Not even lacking that final pass, but it's just it seems like a lack of knowledge of what to do. It seems like we get in the box or get near the box, and we're just I guess I'll give the ball away now. Whether it's them getting stopped by a defender because they weren't quick enough to get rid of the ball, or I don't know. It's just been so weird to see, and we've seen it so much. Our build-up play can be so good, and then we can look so good with our quick 1-2 passes. But lately, and a lot of this season, it's we get into the box or near it, and it's just I don't know what to do now. And then so we can look great in the build-up, and then just not even get a shot off or anything.
Yeah,
it's been awful.
Yeah, there were only 4 shots on target total, and 3 of them were the goals, and 1 of them was Rafa's that was rebounded for a goal. So that was all of the shots on target. And there were only 8 shots total. So it's not like there were a ton that were off target.
And I feel like there should have been more. If I'm not wrong, I think Royce had a 1-on-1, which is his second 1-on-1 in the last 2 games, and still just can't put it away, which, he's so frustrating at times. Because again, I think he could be such a clever and brilliant finisher and a brilliant attacker, but he also he just has these moments where he completely mentally switches off or just doesn't have that killer instinct and is trying to look for someone else to, give it off to. It's you're the man that can put those away. It's just disappointing to see him become more and more hesitant and with his chances in front of goal lately.
I don't know the game. I don't remember how many games ago it was, but the game he scored 2 and had 3 assists, and we're stop. We went on a big rant about stop talking crap on Marco Royce. Give him the credit he deserves. And then he's just kind of fallen off a little bit. We just haven't seen anything from him lately, which has been sad.
Decent passes here and there, and he's still picking up assists as well. But I think he's just becoming more hesitant when it comes to actually trying to finish off these chances himself.
I know he was injured for a little bit, but that's not a rest time. But he's a guy who hasn't really had rest either, and that's just due to our injuries and playing every single game. And
was going to say, Marco Reus is not used to playing this many minutes. And maybe like he's never actually been healthy long enough to be tired. We might actually be getting to that stage for the first time where we're relying on him so much that, there's been a lot of minutes. Every game that he's healthy, he's in. And maybe it's just taken its toll. I'm firmly in the no slander for Marco Reus camp, because as soon as anybody doubts him, there comes like a goal and 2 assist performance. So hopefully we see that on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was I think it was at the winter break, like halfway through the season, we were going through player stats, and he was top.
He was a distance covered. I think it was in top 6 or
intensive
something.
runs. He was like top of the team and real high up in the Bundesliga. So yeah, he's running a lot, and he's still running a lot, and he needs a break.
And he's go ahead, Adam.
He led the team in clearances against Fürth, and I'm looking at that. I'm like, what the hell? And I look, and going back as far as we have data, it's the most clearances he ever had in a match. I'm like, what the hell's he doing back there, making all these clearances?
That honestly doesn't shock me too much, just because I've said a handful of times this season of how many times we get exposed, and it's just maybe 2 center backs that are fully back, and you see him sprinting all the way back to kind of push whatever the opposition player or attacking player is in the back to steal the ball and get a good recovery and clear it back out. Again, that's the kind of players you need in your squad, like him, Bellingham, doing a great job at that. We came out after the restart in the second half, stepped up our energy a little bit. In my opinion, I think we looked a little bit more urgent and direct in our play, but still just struggling to find that final pass. And Fürth's goal, I was rewatching it, and it looked like Chan tried to set up an offside trap. He kind of stepped to the left real quick, had like a baby step, and then tried to step off. And it looked like he was trying to get everyone else on the back line on his same page and get that offside trap, but just didn't work well at all. I think Paslak and Schultz were both playing him on, and it just gave them an easy chip, which, just go figure. It's just kind of our back line having more and more mental lapses in their game.
Yeah, on that goal too, he was going to score. He was away, and there was not any chance of anyone really getting back to stop him. But one thing I noticed on the replay especially is just immediately you see Akanji and Zagadou just not even try. Like as soon as the ball goes through or over them, like they just stood there. They just stood there and watched it happen. I was like, you're only like 4 feet away from him. Like you can at least try to catch up to him.
Yeah, both of them look
pretty upsetting to watch.
Yeah, both of them look pretty careless in this game.
Yeah, well, Kanji, I think it was that made the pass that got picked off too, that allowed the attack. And then even with his yellow card later, he just looks like a guy who's done.
Yeah,
I love Akanji. I love him. That's one that I'm going to cry a little when he leaves. But he looks done. He looks like he's had enough, and I don't think he's not trying, but I just think he's frustrated and is ready for something else.
Yeah, I would have to completely agree. But one thing that's a little confusing to me is I know I totally get his frustration, but at the same time, I feel like, he, in his mind, he's probably thinking, I keep getting exposed with, or players around me, in my back line, keep getting exposed for the last 3 or 4 years that I've been here. And it doesn't really seem like they're putting much effort into trying to build a defense around me so we can try to limit these mistakes. And now it looks like this summer is like this season that we're like finally giving him the resources around him so he can become or elevate his game and elevate everyone around him. And it looks like he might just be, kind of moving on, which it's just sad.
I would love a back three
of
Akanji, Schlotterbeck, and Sula. Oh my God.
Be the wettest defense in Europe, in my opinion. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that would be more wet than that, and it's insane.
I mean, I have thought about, like, how does it feel to be Akanji? Like, over and over you hear, oh, Dortmund, if only they had a defense, if only they had a defense. And it must really wear on you to hear that constantly when you're I think the best player in that defense. Yep. No, obviously, the defense is not just the 4 guys in the back. The defense is the entire team. But when people talk about Dortmund, they talk about the defense. And I think he becomes a lightning rod for that unfairly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Overall, second half, a little bit better. I mean, I know with our second goal, that was much better play. A lot more direct and purposeful in attack, which was... it's funny because, you know, you would expect that to see that more day in and day out with Dortmund, but it just at times, again, we're trying to like walk it in the back of the net. Schultz had a good ball. I don't think that was kind of like a miscue where you're just kind of passing it wherever and hoping it whatever sticks. But I think he really did like see Brandt's run and picked him out well. And
that was one thing that I noticed on the replay too, was watching him make that run, not Brandt, but Schultz running with the ball. He's like looking up, looking around, looking at his options. I thought so in that moment he did really well to assess the best thing and to see Brandt coming in and to be able to split the defense to him. And I mean, lucky for Schultz, it was a fantastic touch by Brandt.
Oh, it was a brilliant first touch.
And finish to put it away. But yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Schultz in that moment. Like he did really well.
Yeah, I mean Brandt's first touch was. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, all I was going to add was I didn't even think that it was intended for Brandt. I thought that it was like Haaland was ready to receive it, but I think Brandt saw that the defender was about to intercept, which meant Brandt was then free. So he's come in at top speed. Like this is the type of goal I want to like put Titanic music behind or something, and just does at full speed. He has that one tap just to knock it into the open space, and then he's free. And I just thought it was beautiful. Like it was a great cross by Schultz. I think that in most cases it's going to get to Haaland, but in this case the defender left Brandt alone and went after Haaland to intercept the ball, and he just totally took advantage of it. And I think I'm in good company here where I'm a Brandt fanboy. I love seeing him succeed. The first goal, you know, was just a tap in, but now he's got a brace and beautiful game for him.
Welcome to the Brandt Boys podcast.
Welcome to the club. Yeah, it was a great first touch and even better finish. That was with his left, and that's a striker's finish. And to put it in the corner like that at that kind of speed with your weaker foot and with such little time, and you know, it's also to match his record for goals scored in the Bundesliga. You know, I think it's 9 goals now and 8 assists, if I'm not wrong. And the 9 goals, 10 goals. I think it's 9.
Am I wrong?
But right. that did match his career high, not only at Dortmund but in his Bundesliga career in general.
And random stat, I think they mentioned it in the game in the commentary because I don't know where else I would have seen or heard it. But he's our leading away scorer. And Haaland only has like 4 goals on the road or whatever, but Brandt's, I don't know how many, but he's our leading away scorer, which is a pretty good fact. So anyone who wants to talk crap on Brandt, y'all can suck it.
And, you know, if you know me, you know I like the hockey assists, you know, the assist before the assist. And Brandt is just, since Sancho left, Brandt has taken that role of second assist king. Yep. He's just constantly piling those up.
Yeah, I've seen on your website, actually. I mean, is involved in well over, I think, like 44 or 45% of our goals this season, right before Haaland, if I'm not wrong. So, again, he's involved in a lot of our success in front of goal.
And even though I know a lot of people, I know he's been streaky. I understand.
Yeah,
There's been games where like he's non-existent, but this whole team has been like that this whole season.
Yeah.
And he's still given us some pretty good numbers this season. So I don't want that to take away from him this season. And it seems like there was maybe talk that he wanted to transfer and get out of here, and I would be upset to see him go. I think if we're losing Hazard and some other people in kind of that position or just in our attacking numbers, I would love for him to stay. He's one I would love for him to stay. And who knows, like, I guess Reyna is almost like a new signing next season if he comes back and if he's healthy, but we just have seen so little of him this year. It's like it seems like our numbers are really low in those attacking positions. So I was going to argue to stay.
I was going to argue the opposite. Actually, I think we finally now with Adeyemi have a lot more depth if our players do stay. Not in the striker standpoint, but you know, those attacking midfielders / wingers. You have Malen, you have Hazard, you have Brandt, you have Adeyemi, you have Royce, you have Reyna. All those players I think can really help link up our play from different areas of the pitch to hopefully be more deadly in front of goal.
And then we had a goal from Paslak. What?
Yeah. Yeah. Was that before or after Bellingham got robbed for his goal? I can't remember.
Bellingham would have been the
fourth.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. You know, decent shot for, you know, Paslak, a right back who doesn't get much of any time and doesn't really ever attack and get in front of goal like that. It was not a bad shot.
He got in a great position. Royce had just the wonderful assist. And it was a Brandt pre-assist. Now that we mention it, they went back and forth, and then Royce shot it off to the side, and Paslak picked it up and got a nice deflection on it, but still a nice goal.
Yeah. A little collector's item for Paslak. That was also his 50th appearance for Dortmund as well, which is, so, it's funny. I think Paslak is like 23, and it's just so funny how young he is considering he's been at Dortmund for I don't know how long now. Right. And it's like, he's not even 24. Yeah. I know that, definitely some things we could take away that we definitely need to improve on. But, at the end of the day, 3 points and we march on, not our most clinical or convincing performance, but, the fans kept their energy all 90 minutes. I seriously don't think for more than like 15 minutes that entire game I heard the Fürth fans. I was hearing all of our chants, which was awesome to see. I mean, again, just them bringing their energy to away stadiums day in and day out, which is just incredible support from all the supporters in Dortmund. So, props to them. Obviously, Brandt with the brace, made full use of his clear goal-scoring opportunities and linked up plays well, smooth on the ball, and equaled his career best goals in the season. So, yeah, I mean, a few positives as well,
Yeah. We should move on to some very exciting Dortmund news, which we mentioned before. Anytime you're real sad about the Dortmund men's team, all you got to do is go watch the women, because it's been a fantastic season. And that's why it's not the only reason we got Adam joining us. We love having Adam with us. And after we did our first episode where you did jump on for just the women's segment, we're like, we got to get him on for a full episode. So thank you for joining us for a full episode this time. It's been great. But yeah, we got to jump into the women. We have had you on to do some updates before, and when you came on and actually joined us that one time, it was it wasn't early in the season, but there was still a lot to happen with this season. So, Adam, I'm just going to let you, for anyone who needs to know about the Dortmund women's team, we've talked about starting from the bottom, and working their way to climb up top. But can you kind of recap this season and why people need to be excited let the people know about the women.
They're in the 7th division, which is so impressive that Germany has a 7th division in women's football, which is awesome.
It really is.
And they made that decision because they actually polled the fan base to find out if they should start at the bottom or if they should buy the license of another team. And overwhelmingly, the fans wanted to start from the bottom and do it the right way. We didn't want to, pull a Leipzig or anything. Pull an RB Leipzig. I want to make sure that I call out the club specifically, not the city. So they've been playing in what's called the Kreisliga A, which is the district league. And there's an A level and a B level. They are in the A level, which is the 7th tier. And that's split into 2 groups. And they play an 18-game season. They have played 17 of them so far. They have won 17 of them. They have scored 141 goals and conceded 2. So they have clinched the top of the table there. There will be a promotion match against the other group leader, which is TV Brechten, if I'm saying that correctly. That'll be on May 25th. That's TV Brechten 2. The reason that confused me too is they're also in the Kreis Pokal, which is the district cup, which they're about to play the final against TV Brechten. So yes, they're playing the cup final against Brechten, and the promotion match is coming against Brechten 2. So that'll be interesting to play both sides from the same team. That would be like, I don't know, a team playing Dortmund men's team and then the second team and the U23 team in different competitions. But those matches are 4 days apart, and they're the 2 biggest matches for the team. In the cup, they have already beaten a couple of teams that are at higher divisions. In the cup final, they're going to be playing the team that is essentially the Dortmund of the level 1 level up. They have slaughtered everybody. They have a huge goal differential. So it's going to be a great test. And it's not a given. A lot of their games this season have been like, they're going to win. It's just by how much. These are not a given anymore.
Yeah, either way, I mean, it's still incredible that, the amount of success and support the women's team has gotten this year. I mean, again, we've been talking about it for a long time, the club's been talking about it a long time, about finally getting this women's team up and rolling. And, now that we've finally done that, they're flying and they're playing fantastic, and it's cool to see. So this is just out of curiosity. I know you said the promotion match is coming up. Would that put them in the league above them just by one, or would they go up 2 divisions since they're playing the top team in the next division, if that makes sense?
The top team in the next division is in the cup, which is separate.
Okay.
So in the league, the Kreisliga A is split into 2 groups because there's like 20 teams across the region of Dortmund. So the 2 group leaders play each other, and the winner of that goes up to the 6th tier, which is called the Bezirksliga.
Wow. That's interesting.
They should have the option to jump at least a couple.
Which
a couple leagues.
I was listening back to an English language podcast interview that the head of women's football, Svenja Schlenker, did earlier this year. And she was saying about 50% of the squad is probably of quality 2 leagues up where we are now. So like 5th tier. So, it's not like we've brought in like these ringers from like the top division or anything to like pull us up. These are players a couple divisions up. So they have been expected to win. I don't think they were expected to win by quite the level that they have, but the team has really clicked. And you can see that progression from, the early friendlies all the way through like these last few games. They've just looked really great, and they're getting contributions from the entire squad. They've rotated really well and used 22 of their 24 players. They have 2 players who ended up being too young to take part in the league. That was not initially known when they were offered the position on the team. They were just a little bit too young. They were offered the opportunity to go back to their old clubs, but they chose to stay and train with the team. So I'm very excited to see them play next year.
Wow.
That's really cool.
That's incredible.
On the note of player, I was going to get into your one of the Twitter questions. I mean, you had one from Dre. There's multiple questions in there, but as you were just alluding to, the next season moving up a division, and then players, standout players, and who you think might move on. Do you want to jump into that question? Questions, I guess.
So I think who might move on, like leave the team?
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody. I don't think anyone's snooping around to sign players, because I don't exactly know how many divisions of German women's football are professional, but these are amateur players right now. So, I mean, if somebody came with a professional contract, it might be tempting, but I don't think any of the players are quite there yet. So in terms of standout players, I mean, we have there's so many. Where do I even start with? I'll go with Anna Zabelle. She just scored 2 goals and assisted 2 more in the last match, and had 2 pre-assists, if you're into that sort of thing, all in the last match. She now has 25 goals for the season. And this is a player who started the year as a center back and then kind of moved up defensive mid, now attacking mid. She's like, they play like a double 10, essentially a 4-1-4-1. And she's got 25 goals, and I think it's 9 assists across all competitions now. Yeah. Vanessa Heim has 23 goals and 23 assists. So just an incredible provider as well. These are like Wayne Gretzky type numbers rather than like football. Yeah. And what's cool is Vanessa Heim also works for the club as like a coach at the BVB Evonik Football Academy. And I think she actually might work in marketing at the club as well. So there's a couple of club employees that are on the team as well, which is very exciting. We also have Hannah Gusman, who is probably the player that I would worry the most about professional teams looking at. She's only 17 years old and has missed a lot of the season and still has 22 goals. She's just a lethal finisher and is amazing to watch. And Katrin Lau is another one that has a ton of goals and assists. She's got 19 goals, 10 assists. I could go on. So I will, maybe you can stop me there. If Leah Roche Harper is another Herper who's I'm a huge fan of. She's basically their Bellingham. Like if you combined Paslak's size and Bellingham's tenacity into one player, this is her.
That's sick.
And she had gotten assist after assist after assist all season long. But then in the last 3 games, she's exploded for 6 goals. So that's been so much fun to see because she's deserved it. She's played great. And of course, the defense. They've allowed 3 goals all year across all competition. So you got to mention defenders like Marina Young, Virginia Glanzer. Lisa Clement is the captain. She has actually played 2nd or 3rd division. So she's the most experienced player in terms of a high division played. And they have a lot of young players who fill out the roster as well. We've got like 17-year-olds that are getting a ton of minutes, and it's very exciting to see.
It's incredible all around. I was going on the list with you. I'm a fan of the few of the players, like you mentioned, like Vanessa Heim and everything. I've been following some of them, and it's just incredible numbers all around, especially because so many of them have taken on different roles and excelled in all expectations and pretty much every role that they've been thrown into. And so it's awesome to see.
Adam, I am curious how you got really interested in following this team so in depth. Like, have you always been like a champion of women's sports, which props to you because more people need to get behind it and support it in general, I think, around the world. But what was your how'd you decide or want to get into it? And I mean, everything that you do with your website and follow the team so closely. I know you mentioned before, like, you're kind of a source where you'll provide video and stuff. You'll post something on it's for
baseball statistics, if I'm not wrong, correct? And then you this was kind of like a different project.
Yeah, I mean, the day job is I work for Sports Reference. We make baseball reference, basketball reference, FB Ref, if you're familiar with that as well. And I love stats. So part of this was me wanting to have a resource for I guess I started off by tracking the hockey style scoring data for the men's team. I've actually scrapped that part of the site for now because all of my traffic was the women's data, which is awesome. So I just went all in and blew that out with player pages and match logs and match results and formations and stuff like that, because there is a gap in finding that data as well. And I didn't expect to follow this team as closely as I have, but a few things clicked. Like, I enjoyed creating the site. It's a fun project. I get to do some coding, which I don't really get to do in my day job these days, which don't get me wrong, I love my day job. But then the fact that we could watch pretty much every match, like there's been like 3 or 4 that weren't broadcast. And that's just a couple of the fields that don't have the equipment to stream. And I mean, the players themselves are very friendly, responsive. I can ask a question about something that happened in a game and they're totally willing to respond. The club itself has been super responsive as well. I have a guy there, Danny Fritz, who if there's a game that's not broadcast, I just say, all right, where do these assists come from? Help me out here, fill out my data. Over the winter break, they sent me a signed jersey that's behind me. And nice. I'm so appreciative of that jersey signed by the team. It was just a lovely thing. I couldn't believe it. When I opened the box, I saw the size. I'm like, wait, this is too small. And then I realized what it is. And I'm like, oh my God. And, just being part of something from the ground up with the club that, I love. And, I love following the men's team. This is certainly nothing on the men's team, but, I'm not really super into like the big Champions League, competitions and stuff like that. I just kind of like following a club just because of who they are. And I identify so deeply with this club. So rather than like following football outside of Dortmund, I've really just kind of gone all in on like, checking out what's going on within the club itself. And that's why when the women's team started, I was excited to start, publishing content on my site for it. And it really just took off from there because people responded to it and it was just a magical season. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's how we found you too, is I had put out a tweet about, I just asked, does anyone know anybody who knows anything about the Dortmund women's team? Cause I couldn't find anything. And then someone had tagged you, and then that's how we linked up. And it was Yeah, super cool because you are. I feel like you're the guy. You're the source.
I was gonna say it's really cool, yeah, that you're able to communicate with the team, and the team. Dortmund is in general is really good at, in my opinion, at communicating with fans and different supporters and people that want to get involved in general. So it's cool of them to do that, and obviously incredible for you to be a part of a project like this. I mean, you really are a part of something that's really special, and like you said, building from the ground up. People really appreciate the work you do. So. Yeah, it's a beautiful site, and thank you again for everything, and thank you for coming on. I was saying that like we were ending the episode.
Wait, Carver,
we
you
do got to
getting him
jump
out
in
of here?
very, very quick predictions for Berlin, but I would just want to get that out there.
Yeah, real quick. Adam, if you want to quickly, I mean, we're going to link everything in the description of this episode, but how can people follow you for more updates about the women? How can people follow the women? And then your website, what is all that?
Yeah, luckily, if you just Google Borussia Dortmund Women or Borussia Dortmund Frauen, it'll come up now since I've gone all in on just making the site about this one topic. But Darowski.com, DAROWSKI.com/BVB is where I have the site. You can also follow the women's team on Instagram. I believe it's BVB09 Frauen on Instagram.
Yep.
They post all the updates there. And there is a section on the Dortmund website that has all the news reports about the women as well as profiles on all the players, which I have a lot of that data on my site too. And that's pretty much the way to do it. Yeah, I live tweet as many games as I can.
I was going to say, did they jack all that data from you? I feel like you had it first.
No, luckily Danny, who I referred to earlier, he's like literally the stadium announcer. When one of them scores a goal, he announces it, and he's the other Borussia Dortmund women's data nut out there,
Nice.
and we bond over that. Like we just make sure that our data is in sync and stuff like that.
That's cool. That's really awesome.
That's beautiful. All right. Okay. So this Saturday, at home versus Berlin, last game of the season, last home game. I don't know how many send-offs we're going to have. It's going to be a bittersweet day. Do we have any predictions or things we want to see in general? It could be the scoreline. It could be any sort of send-offs we're looking to see. Anything?
I'm going to say we at least score 4 because I think Haaland's going to get 2 or 3.
Yeah, I could imagine that as well.
So,
Adam?
I was going to go 5-1 with the inevitable goal by like Marco Richter or Ishak Belfadil or something like that.
I was just about to say you can never escape those, no matter who we're playing and what kind of form we're in. We're always due for not keeping a clean sheet, unfortunately.
Both of them actually have scored a brace against Dortmund in the past.
Yep.
So hopefully it's just one this time though.
It's just some different predictions that I'm hoping will happen. Is one, Berkey starting. I guess that's just we'll wait and see. It's I guess to be determined for that. I'm hoping Haaland scores a brace. I can imagine he at least scores at the very minimum 1. I mean, he's going to be giving his heart and soul for that last game. Hopefully 2, hopefully 3. But my guess or my prediction is going to be a brace for him. I'd like to see a tifo for Zorc, which I already mentioned that before, but I think it'd be beautiful for him to, get the applause that he deserves and the standing ovation that he deserves and all the great work he's done behind the scenes for this team for I don't know how long now. And then as well as I'm hoping for a clean sheet, but I'm probably going to go for conceding 1 as well, and I'll go for a 4-1.
Cool. So it's Saturday at 9:30 Eastern time?
Yeah.
6:30 Pacific. I know we mentioned it before. Carver and I have not. Well, I mean, this episode, thanks to Adam being here, and then a couple weeks ago with Josh, we did talk a lot about transfers and incomings and outgoings. We appreciate all the questions because those are the questions we get most week after week.
Yeah.
Because like someone will have a bad game and they're like, God, should this person leave? I'm like, well, maybe. I don't know. And so, but with all that being said, now that the season is wrapping, we are going to be back next week with an episode to recap that game specifically, and then we'll probably get into a bunch of transfer and next season, what we're going to look into and everything.
Yeah,
so
we'll have a whole separate episode to break down the season and everything like that, yeah.
So it's coming, and we appreciate the questions. We appreciate the tweets.
We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the ratings. We appreciate Adam coming on as well.
Hey, and when the women have those 2 massive games in a 4-day stretch, I'll be sure to get you guys a recap.
Please do.
Yeah,
Please
it will
do.
be. I mean, we'll be tweeting. I like to, anytime I see that you're like live tweeting a game, I'll try to get in there. It hasn't happened a lot lately because, well, sometimes on the weekends, if I can't catch a game, which Adam, I've noticed you do too, like you'll jump on like 15 hours later, you're like, oh, I finally watched the men's game. It happens to me a lot where I can't watch live, and then I just put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I'll like go like a whole weekend without even texting anyone back because I'm like, I'm off the grid. Yeah. I can't see anything.
I can't go to sleep without watching it, but a lot of times I'm doing it much later in the day or evening.
Yeah, but with that said, we'll be sure to put out all the info and give you the retweets, and we always like to, anytime there's a match coming up, we always put it in the description, and we'll get that info posted too. But I think that does it for this week. Adam, thank you again so much for joining us. You're welcome back anytime, really.
Of course. Yeah, you really are, man. We love having you on. Thank you for everything.
I really enjoy chatting with you guys. This is a lot of fun.
Awesome. We will see you back next week. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.